The first thing that comes to mind is, how have you experienced freedom exactly? Is it skydiving, when you move out, when you ditch class? Like, what is it? What is freedom to you, MaryJane?
Oh yeah. Freedom is, to me, the opportunity to make my own choices and my own decisions. And that freedom I experienced when I turned 18 years old. Yes, that's right, I became an adult. How many times have you heard an 18-year-old say, I am 18, I'm an adult, I can do whatever I want? I grew up in San Diego. The first thing I did at midnight, I crossed the border to TJ. Freedom. And how ironic that I'm celebrating America in Mexico. So it's a little, I choose to use my freedom in strange ways. But truthfully, when I became 18, I made the decision to pack my bags, hop into a friend's car, start attending the college that I signed myself up for, because I did it all myself. I'm the first person in my family to go to college, to graduate from college. And for me, the freedom that I exercised when I was 18 gave me more freedom to live the life that I have today. Happy 4th of July, everyone.
Clearly, I have never experienced freedom. Oh, wow. Well, speaking, since we're on that theme, what comes to your mind when you hear the word freedom? Is it like red, white, and blue popsicles, bacon, eagles? What's the big thing? What's the imagery that really conjures up freedom? Doug.
Thank you, Mr. Table Topics Master. Could I have that question again, please?
What comes to mind when you hear the word freedom?
Visual imagery.
What comes to mind when I hear the word freedom? It's actually an audio file. There was a song. There was a song long before any of you were born by a singer-songwriter named Janis Joplin, who said, "Freedom is just another word for nothing left to lose." And that's what comes to mind. You know, when you talk about anarchy, right? We've seen examples of it very recently. Look at the Uber strike in France, right? For those of you that didn't notice it, the French cabbies who are entitled to rob people, right? Because that's what it's about. They charge double what conventional people consider to be a fair deal for driving you from one place to another in a car, and that's what it's all about. So what happened? Well, they all went crazy and protested someone taking away their entitlement to rob the public. Now, I don't know about you, fellow Toastmasters, but I find that to be absurd. It's absurd, the idea that open market economics shouldn't dictate the value of a service, right? Are you with me? So that, you know, when you talk about freedom, it's a great many things. We had a couple of great speeches on the subject today, pardon me, and I'm still mulling over it myself, but I'll leave you with what Janis Joplin said. Freedom is just another word for nothing left to lose. Mr. Table Topics Master.
That's a great segue to what I have coming on next.
Awesome.
So this recent Friday, their freedom to marry was passed. Everyone could do it. That's a huge thing, and I think they've been fighting for it for so long. You know, they got what they want. Whether you guys are for it or not for it, that's how things kind of are now. So how would you fight for your freedom? There are many ways. You can do chain letters, angry YouTube comments, you know, whatever works. But how would you fight for your freedom, Aaron?
Oh, I got up too quickly. I fight for my freedom in several different ways. However, I think the most impactful way to fight for
our freedom, my freedom, is educating the people around you. Educating everyone that could potentially help you in your journey or stay there in their journey. Because I believe that I am not here for myself, for my own good. Any knowledge instilled within me is to share it. Any experience given that I go through is to share it to other people. So even though I may not have the ability to completely exercise freedom, I have the freedom of educating people, changing lives, and allowing myself to pay it forward. While exercising my freedom via social media is definitely effective, people can only view what you're saying from their perspective. So if you don't want to seem like someone who's just ranting and raving, you need to allow people to understand where you're coming from or see what is going on. Prior to Eric Snowden, if someone were to tell you that there's a secret organization, you would think that they're being paranoid, conspiracy theorists. However, once we started to understand just how domineering the NSA can be, we are now liberated from the obligation to post, to thinking that we can loosely post things and loosely say things and just be loose about things, and that we are not free to do it. So, with that, I leave you to tabletop.
Great choice in vocabulary. Very, very moving. Oh my gosh. Along the lines of our speeches today, I thought they were really great, and it was a lot of privacy and security concerns. They would, a lot of it, talk about how there could be so much freedom, and is there too much, is there too little? Is there a time in your life where you felt like you had a lack of freedom? Maybe it's, you were restrained by something and something held you back, it felt unfair. Wow.
Helen.
Oh. Helen. Wow is not here. And my mentor. Thank you, Miss.
Just call her Madam.
Is there a time in my life when I felt I did not have enough freedom?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's the question. I believe before I turned 18, before I could drive, I actually started driving very early at age 15 with a permit. I grew up in Houston, Texas, or first Taiwan and then Houston. Houston is very big. Texas is so big. You can't really get anywhere without a car. The public transportation system was not good, so I really depended on my mom to drive me around everywhere. And if she's busy working and she cannot take me, I was basically stuck at home. And in Houston, the weather's very, very hot in the summer. Well, you don't really want to go outside in the hot, humid weather. So you want to stay in air conditioning. But if I want to go to the mall or go to the movies with my friends, without a car and without my mom to take me, I basically couldn't go. So at that time, before I turned 15, I felt my freedom was very limited. But once I got a car, I started driving, especially when I turned 16, got my own car and driver's license. I was out and about everywhere. I loved it. I love having the independence of just being able to pick up and go where I want and when I want. I felt very loose and unconstrained. So it was wonderful. And so when my kids turn 16, I definitely let them get their driver's license and have a car. I want them to be able to experience the same freedom that I had. Thank you, Mr. Taylor.
Thank you, Helen. I was really afraid to ask that question because someone might say, like, when I was in prison, oh no, that's too much. Well, so there, sometimes not everything's good. There's always two sides to the coin. When would you feel like freedom is a bad thing? Is it too much or how could freedom be viewed negatively? Atta'ya.
Let's go. She's trying to hide with
When could freedom be negative? You know, honestly, I think that's a great question for me. I just wish I had more time to put my thoughts together on it. Maybe I would say when people choose to give commentary at times. Because while we have freedom of speech, we have many people who don't think about the repercussions of their words and what they could affect, who they could be affecting, and so forth. And we see that with Donald Trump's recent statements and many others. Maybe it's just me because I am a person who does take a lot of pride in thinking before I speak. And I understand that there are times when I can't always think about everyone's feelings because some things need to just be said, but some things could be said possibly a little differently. So I would say it comes around in the speech area. Again, if I had more time, I think I could say this much more eloquently, but some people are just a little too loose with their verbiage and could practice more restraint when speaking. Thank you.
With that, I conclude.